If you are here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. Also, hit the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you are notified. In this video, we'll be taking a deep, factual look at two competing public-private partnership offers for one of the Kenya's most important road projects, the Rironi-Nakuru Mau Summit Highway. The first proposal came from French-led consortium known as Rift Valley Connect, which was headed by Vinci and Meridian. The second and the current one is from the China Road and Bridge Corporation, CRBC, and the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, the consortium. Both offer ways to upgrade the highway, but they are built on different financial and technical ideas. Let's unpack what those differences mean, not just for engineers or financiers, but for all Kenyans who pay tolls or benefit from this road. Let's start with the contract structure. Who takes the risk and how the money flows? Vinci contract used what is called an availability payment model. In simple terms, Vinci would have built the road with its own financing, and once the road was open and well maintained, the government would make fixed yearly payments for a set period of time, similar to paying rent for a house you would continue to occupy. This means Vinci would have not depended on tolls from drivers to recover its money. Instead, the government would guarantee payment as long as Vinci kept the road in good condition. The risk of how many vehicles use the road, that is what is called traffic risk, stayed with the government. By contrast, CRBC and Nssf proposal uses DBFOMT model, which stands for Design, Build, Finance, Operate, and Maintain and Transfer. That's mouthful, but here is what it means. CRBC and Nssf would design and construct the road, pay for late upfront using their own money or loans, run it and maintain it for a period of that years, and then hand it back to government at the end of the period. They'll earn their money from toll charges paid directly by motorists. If fewer vehicles use the road, they earn less. If more use it, they earn more. That's called bearing traffic and revenue risk, meaning they accept the risk that income from tolls might be lower than expected. In plain terms, Vinci model gave them a guaranteed income from government payments. CRBC and Nssf model gives them income only if Kenyans actually use and pay for the road. The first model is safer for investors. The second is cheaper upfront for government, but riskier for the private partner. Second, let's look at financial sides. How much and who pays? According to the official records, Vinci project was worth 1.3 billion euros, or roughly between 170 and 190, depending on the exchange rate. That was to be paid back over many years through those availability terms that we have mentioned before. CRBC and Nssf consortium plan is worth about $1.49 billion. That's around 190. Financed 75% by loans and 25% by investor funds, including Nssf pension money. CRBC expects to earn roughly $4.8 billion over 30 years from tolls, charging Kenya shillings 88 per kilometer for small vehicles, increasing by 1% a year to account for inflation. So on paper, the two projects are of similar cost, between 170 and 190. But the way the money is recovered is completely different. Vinci plan would have been paid by taxpayers through the national budget. CRBC and Nssf consortium will be paid by motorists at toll stations. Which one is cheaper? That's a question that one may ask. For the government books, CRBC version looks cheaper because no annual payments are required. But if you include all the tax breaks and exemptions CRBC wants, the savings may disappear. For instance, waiving import duty, value added tax, and corporate tax for that years could cost the treasury nearly as much as Vinci availability payments would have costed. Let's look at tolling, its affordability, and what this means for motorists. In the Vinci plan, tolls would have been moderate because the government was footing the main bill through its payment. In CRBC case, tolls are the only way investors recover their money, meaning users, not the treasury, carry the cost. The base toll of 8 shillings per kilometer means a trip from where the road starts up to where it terminates, which is about 175 kilometers, could cost around 1,400 Kenya shillings for a small car. Heavy vehicles would pay more. Now, that does not automatically make CRBC model unfair. It just means motorists will directly pay for the convenience of a faster, safer highway. But it also means toll affordability is critical. If tolls are too high, many drivers may avoid the road, hurting the investors and defeating the project's purpose. Let's look at the road design. What the two versions include. Both proposals involve turning the current A8 highway into a dual carriageway, meaning 2 lanes in each direction for most sections, plus interchanges, drainage, lighting, and safety system. But CRBC version adds more details and capacity. Vinci 2020 design covered roughly 175 of the main corridor, plus improvement of the A8 South Link Road, which is a Rironi Mai-Mahiu Naivasha. It included 4-kilometer elevated road viaduct through Nakuru town to reduce congestion. CRBC 2025 plans goes further. Rironi to Naivasha is a dual 4-lane highway. Naivasha to Nakuru West, dual 6-lane highway, wider due to heavy traffic. Nakuru to Mau Summit, dual 4-lane highway. A longer 4.5 viaduct through Nakuru town. There will be 8 toll stations, 6 along the main road A8 and 2 on A8 South. So CRBC design is more ambitious and therefore more expensive to build upfront, but it could handle more vehicles and last longer before needing major expansion. Vinci may have been cheaper initially, but might have needed future upgrades sooner. Let's look at risk sharing. Who bears what kind of risk? Let's break down a few types of risk in simple terms. Construction risk. If there are cost overruns or delays during building, both Vinci and Crbc Nssf consortium would absorb those losses. That's normal for any public-private partnership. Traffic risk. If traffic is lower than expected, Vinci would have been affected because the government, Vinci would not have been affected because the government still had to pay the agreed amount. In CRBC case, fewer cars means less toll revenue, a direct hit on their income. There is also the land risk. For both projects, the government must buy and hand over the land needed to widen the road and build interchanges. If that process is slow, it delays the whole project. CRBC design stretches beyond the existing road in several areas, meaning more land acquisition, a major potential bottleneck, which could delay the project. Currency risk is another risk that we need to explore. CRBC loans will likely be in US dollars or in Chinese yuan. If Kenya shillings weakens further, paying back those loans becomes costlier. Vinci arrangement would have buffered the risk through fixed government payments. In short, CRBC carries more operational and financial risk. Vinci's structure protected investors but exposed taxpayers. Let's look at the government support as well as tax incentives that were involved in both cases. Here is where things get delicate. CRBC and Nssf consortium have asked for 18 different tax and fiscal concessions, including exemption from value-added tax, import duty, stamp duty, and corporate tax for the 30-year concession. They also want government guarantees to access foreign currency and possibly top-up payments if tolls fall short. This is called Viability Gap Fund, VGF. Kenya's Evaluation Committee has said no to most of these for now, asking the consortium to confirm in writing that they will operate under the existing tax laws. That's wise. Full tax holidays of this magnitude are rare in private partnership everywhere. Usually, tax breaks are only allowed during construction, not for 3 decades. Vinci model didn't rely on tax breaks but would have required the government to make continuous payments, effectively a long-term commitment on national budget. So one model costs more money upfront through the budget, the other costs money through lost taxes over time if they will be granted. Which is better and which is riskier? Let's be honest. Neither option is perfect. Each solves one problem but creates another. Vinci plans was financially safer for investors and predictable for lenders, but it placed large burden on Kenya public finances, similar to taking an extra national debt under another name. The government cancelled it partly because it feared unsustainable payment obligations. On the other hand, the CRBC plan is fiscally lighter in the short term. The government does not have to pay directly, but it is riskier for investors and potentially costly for motorists. But if the government later gives in to CRBC tax demands, the public may still bear the cost indirectly. So why shift from French to Chinese investors? Why was this shift? The shift reflects Kenya's financial situations. With high public debt levels and limited fiscal space, the government wanted a model that does not require it to make regular payments. That's why it turned from Vinci availability payment model to CRBC toll-based version. However, shifting traffic risk to investors often forces them to demand protection through tax breaks, guarantees, or high tolls, as CRBC and Nssf consortium is doing. That's exactly what you are seeing now. Now, a question. Why was cancelling Vinci contract justified? From a public finance point of view, yes, it was justified, at least partly. The government feared locking itself into long-term payments it could not afford. But cancellation also had cost, years of lost preparation, and uncertainties for investors watching how Kenya treats signed PPPs. It sent a mixed signal about consistency, which might affect or make future investors cautious. The bottom line, what Kenya should watch. CRBC and Nssf consortium proposal can succeed, but only if both sides stay realistic. The government must deliver land, approvals, and transparency, while CRBC and Nssf consortium must accept normal taxes, fair tolls, as well as real commercial risk. If the government grants too much exemptions, Kenya could lose in potential tax revenue. If it refuses or support, the project could stall or tolls could skyrocket. Kenya should demand clarity. The tax holidays being offered, who pays if traffic projections are wrong, and how tolls will be regulated. The deal must be value for money, not just a road that is built fast, but one that is financially fair and sustainable. On the final thought, Vinci version was safe but expensive for taxpayers. CRBC is bold and cheaper for government upfront, but could become costly in hidden ways if not tightly managed. That's PPP. I mean, the right PPP is not just foreign flags, whether it's Chinese or whether it's French. It's about balance in terms of sharing risk fairly, keeping costs transparent, and ensuring Kenyans pay for value that they receive. So that's the test this new PPP must pass. So thank you for reaching this far. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Also hit the notification bell so that whenever you upload a new video, you are notified. Thank you.